When I was younger, like most people who live in a low income area, I went to a very harsh high school and a very harsh junior high school also. In my high school, most of the teachers exhibited behaviors that showed me that they could care less. I mean, I've actually sat in classrooms where students were told, as long as I don't get hurt, you guys can do what you want. I mean, literally, you may not believe what's about to come out my mouth next, but teachers allowed the smoking of marijuana in classes as long as you blew it out the window. Um, People sat around, they talked, shooting shit. Pretty much bullshitting. Other teachers who were fortunate enough to have, students that went there who were eager to learn, they didn't run their classrooms that way. Um, my school's mixed. Were there any white people there? A few. There were a few. But not, not the wholesome TV image white person. These were leather biker jacket wearing, kind of rock and rollish kind of guys. Like I said, very, very few of them, maybe a handful, to be quite honest with you, or at least those that I've witnessed. And for you people who are going to assume they got beat up and all that, not really. I don't think anyone ever even noticed them, to be quite honest with you. Well, moving on. When we ask children to disregard the harsh realities of, unfortunately, sometimes where some of us reside, and to solely focus on education as a means to get, as a means to get out, you're asking one hell of a thing. I mean, me personally, when I was in junior high school and, I heard teachers talking, I had one teacher in public school who kept it honest. Her name was Miss Lannon, if I'm not mistaken. She had a husband who died. He was in the service of some sort. She had an older son who was a police officer. She was a Caucasian woman, but very down to earth. I mean, she listened to us. She tried to relate. She asked questions. She just didn't assume that she knew everything, and great teacher. 7th grade, she was my reading teacher, and then for 8th grade, I had her for my homeroom teacher. And she's a great woman. Took the class on trips, got us out the neighborhood. And she was just a great teacher. She was a teacher that I think would be beneficial to a lot of young brothers and sisters and Latinos and white kids that I also know who are on welfare and have food stamps, things like that. And the biggest myth is that everyone's on food stamps and welfare and shit like that, and it's really not true at all. Trust me, believe me. I mean, when you live in a low income area, I know you or you're gonna know me whether or not we know each other or not. You understand? Like, it's just that kind of place. But I'm getting back on topic. I once had a conversation with her where, she praised me once for being so smart, but not putting all my energies and efforts into, getting into the kind of high school she felt that I should have got into. And we had this conversation where I had to explain to her that when I leave this school, I go back to my reality. Now, I never once thought education was stupid. I wasn't that far gone mentally. But I had to explain to her that when I leave from out of the school, my reality is there are men and women dying around me every day, all day. Promiscuous women. Guys who are selling drugs feet away from me. You understand? I mean, the stories you hear. the language that's used in neighborhoods. I mean, let's be serious. Growing up in a low income area, you learn how to speak real fucked up before you learn how to speak properly. You understand? Even when we interact with people from a different background, the first thing we ask them is how to say the curse words in their language before we learn how to say something like, hello, how are you doing, thank you, have a nice day. You come up where no one is hands-on teaching you to be aggressive in life, but you see how your personality has to be for you to survive and to keep the bad element off you. There are bad people. I'm not saying that they're not, but not everyone is. Some people keep up that persona because in their reality, it's a must. Now me, I was never a bad person, but I did my fair share of rocking a bad boy image. Not for the sake of blending in, but for the sake of when you look around and you see guys that have that attitude, people were less likely to bother them. More so than, most of the mild-mannered dudes that I knew who either barely came outside because of getting picked on and being jumped, and, it's a whole bunch of bullshit, So when you ask these children to disregard all of that shit that's going on in their neighborhood, that no matter what happens in your neighborhood, just focus on school. You have to understand the amount of stress these kids have. It's easy to see why someone would turn to fast money. You understand? The reason they return to fast money so quickly is because we've diminished their dreams. I'm not saying I'm not saying government and shit of that nature. The community, even the good people who aren't standing up for things that they should stand up for fear of retaliation. It's understandable. The fact is, we have to find a way to clean up the streets in order to change these kids' perspective on life. If we can't find a way to clean up the streets, fast money is always going to seem like a feasible option for them. We've diminished these kids' dreams to just want to be able to pay bills and not have to worry about that and have a better place to live where it's not as many gun shops. To me, it's a sad day. A very sad day when we've allowed these domestic terrorists to diminish dreams to something like that. I remember being in, second, third grade maybe, or something like that, and we were talking about being astronauts and doctors and lawyers and just going up to be so many wonderful things, but the older you get within these low-income areas, the quicker you lose that innocence. The quicker reality sets in. You see, a lot of the times, these parents and these other adults, they don't believe children stress. Of course they stress. They live in the household with you. They see what's going on. Maybe they don't express it. Sorry. Maybe they don't express it the way that you would, but it doesn't mean that they don't feel the shit. I felt it coming up. We didn't come up with much money. I mean, we weren't dirt poor. Mama, she made ends meet. But it's still rough, man. I mean, when you're 14 years old and you're told you have to have a summer job in order to help provide yourself with some sort of clothing for high school, or you're basically asked out, something's wrong. You do understand? That's stress on the child, man. I mean, when you live in a family that's a bit better off than others, usually parents may, get you a summer job as a lesson and money, or maybe the child is of age where he wants extra money, but it's not always necessary. You understand? It's not always necessary for a child to have a summer job at 14 years old to provide the bare essentials for his or her own self. So, the question that I really want to put out there is, Where do we start? Because we need to start somewhere. Time and time again, when I turn on these news shows and they're talking about education, I don't hear people saying shit like this. I don't hear them actually acknowledging what the real problem is. Now, is every single child gonna change? No. It wouldn't be reality if I said something like that. But can we change and save some lives and give them a better perspective? Of course we can. Because the lives we don't save, hopefully when they have children, they would have gone through enough to show their kids differently, hopefully. But that's how you breed generations of people with the same mindset and outlook on life. When these people slip through the cracks, or we sit here and pussyfoot so much that it becomes this issue that gets out of control, to the point where people just start to say, shit like, we can't help everybody, or, there's so much bullshit, man. But the key to helping these kids is to help these communities at the end of the day. To get these people off the street who are giving our young minds that may do some great things in this world, man. I mean, you don't have to come from a prominent, noble family to be destined for greatness. Greatness is that's in the eye of the beholder. Anybody with the mind willing to grab out and, seek it. It's not always easy, especially when you're faced with those sort of odds when you're that young. Understand what you're telling young people to overcome. And ask yourself, how fair is it for me not to try to help these communities properly, the way that it should have always been done? No mercy on these domestic terrorists. None of that bullshit letting them off the hook. Fuck that. Enough is enough. When will enough be enough? Or would I be right by just assuming jail is big business? It's more money for people to do crime and lock them up than it is to really not have it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to think like that. I don't. So I'm not. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to, but for the sake of me keeping myself unbiased, as I try to be, or just rational about something, I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, man. But that's what I had to say about that. So subscribe, comment, rate, and oh yeah, I changed the intro. I got the message. It was awful. Sorry guys, it was first time using the program, Sony Vegas and stuff like that. So from my earphones, it sounded good. I didn't know that it was so horrible on your end. But shouts out to the person that told me. I can't remember your screen name at this moment, but you know who you are. Well, that's it. So like I always say, comment, rate, subscribe. Even if you guys choose not to, it's quite alright. If you just want to pass the knowledge on or spark the debate with somebody else and keep the trend going that way, man, it's excellent. So reach one and teach one.